Have you ever wondered about the true story behind one of history's most epic tales? A story of a colossal boat, a world-altering flood, and one family's incredible faith. What if I told you the story of Noah's Ark is more than just a children's tale? What if it holds profound lessons that are more relevant today than ever before? Stay with me as we journey back in time to unravel the mysteries of Noah's Ark, a story not just of survival, but of redemption. Let's set the scene. The world, according to the book of Genesis, had become a place filled with corruption and wickedness. It was a world that had lost its way. But amidst all this chaos, there was one man who stood apart, Noah. The Bible describes him as a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time who walked faithfully with God. Imagine the kind of integrity and strength of character it must have taken to maintain his principles when everyone around him was heading in the opposite direction. It was in this context that God spoke to Noah, giving him a monumental task. A task so immense, it sounds like something out of a fantasy movie. God instructed Noah to build an ark, a massive vessel, unlike anything the world had ever seen. The instructions were incredibly specific: 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high, about the length of 1.5 football fields. It was to be built from cypress wood and coated inside and out with pitch to make it waterproof. Can you imagine the scene? Noah and his family, day after day, year after year, working on this gigantic structure. Their neighbors must have thought they were completely mad. There was no sign of rain, no giant body of water nearby. They likely faced constant ridicule and skepticism. "Why are you building a boat in the middle of dry land, Noah?" they might have jeered. Yet Noah's faith never wavered. This is our first powerful lesson from this story: the power of conviction and perseverance in the face of doubt. Noah didn't build the ark in a week. It was a long-term project that required unwavering commitment, fueled by his trust in a promise he couldn't yet see. Then came the next part of the divine instruction, one that has captivated the imagination of people for centuries. Noah was told to bring into the ark 2 of every kind of living creature, male and female, along with his own family, his wife, his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. He was also to gather and store enough food to sustain all of them for the journey ahead. This wasn't just about saving humanity, it was about preserving the entire ecosystem of life on Earth. The ark was to become a floating sanctuary, a microcosm of the world, carrying the future of all life within its wooden walls. The logistics of this task are mind-boggling. How do you gather animals from all corners of the world? How do you house them and feed them? The story suggests a divine hand in this process, with the animals themselves coming to Noah. It speaks to a harmony between man and nature, guided by a higher purpose. It highlights the idea of stewardship, the responsibility we have to care for the creatures and the world around us. And then, just as foretold, the moment arrived. After Noah, his family, and all the animals were safely inside, God himself shut the door. The skies opened up and the rain began to fall, but this was no ordinary storm. The Bible describes it as the fountains of the great deep bursting forth and the floodgates of the heavens being opened. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights, an unrelenting deluge that covered the entire earth, submerging even the highest mountains. Inside the ark, tossed on the turbulent waters, was a small community of survivors. Imagine the sounds, the smells, the constant rocking of the vessel. For over a year, this ark was their entire world. It was a time of waiting, a time of trusting that the storm would eventually pass and the waters would recede. This period of confinement teaches us about patience and hope in times of uncertainty. When we feel like we are adrift in our own personal storms, Noah's journey reminds us that even the longest floods have an end. Finally, after 150 days, the waters began to recede. The ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. But the journey wasn't over yet. Noah had to wait longer, patiently, for the earth to dry. He sent out a raven and then a dove. The first time, the dove returned, finding no place to land. A week later, he sent it out again. And this time, it returned with a freshly plucked olive leaf in its beak, a sign that life was returning to the earth. The olive branch has remained a powerful symbol of peace and new beginnings ever since. The third time, the dove didn't return, signaling that the earth was habitable once more. When Noah and his family finally stepped out of the ark, they stepped into a new world, a world washed clean, ready for a fresh start. The first thing Noah did was build an altar and give thanks to God. This act of gratitude is so important. After everything they had been through, their first instinct was to express thankfulness for their salvation and the promise of a new beginning. In response, God made a covenant, a sacred promise, not just with Noah, but with all of humanity and every living creature. He promised never again to destroy the earth with a flood. And as a sign of this everlasting covenant, he set a rainbow in the clouds. Every time we see a rainbow, it's a reminder of this promise of hope, redemption, and the beauty that can follow a storm. So what is the timeless legacy of Noah's Ark? It's a multi-layered story that resonates with us on many levels. It's a story about the consequences of losing our way and the possibility of a second chance. It's a powerful testament to the strength of faith in the face of overwhelming odds. It's a lesson in perseverance, patience, and the courage to be different. Noah's journey reminds us that even when we feel isolated or misunderstood for our beliefs, standing firm in our convictions can lead to incredible outcomes. His story also carries a profound environmental message, emphasizing our responsibility as caretakers of this planet and all its inhabitants. The Ark was the ultimate act of conservation, preserving life for future generations. From the relentless rain of judgment to the rainbow of redemption, Noah's incredible voyage changed the course of history. It's a story that challenges us to think about our own lives. Are we building our own arks of integrity, faith, and character to withstand the storms of life? Are we being good stewards of the world we've been given? And when the floods recede, do we remember to be grateful for our new beginnings? The story of Noah's Ark is more than just an ancient text. It's a living narrative that continues to offer hope, guidance, and inspiration. It reminds us that no matter how dark the storm, there is always the promise of a rainbow. Thank you so much for joining me on this biblical journey today. I hope it's given you some fresh perspective on this timeless story. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into fascinating stories that have shaped our world. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What lesson from Noah, his story, resonates most with you? Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.